The Ottoman Empire was the last great Islamic empire. The Ottomans emerged from the chaos of the 14th century, when the Muslim world was destroyed by Mongol invasions. During this period, the Arab rulers were no longer the great warriors that they once were, and they had become weak, sedentary, and corrupt. Therefore, it was the time for the Turks to rise to the occasion and revive the Islamic world. The Ottomans were descendants of nomadic Turks from Central Asia who had fled west after the Mongol invasions and had taken refuge in the region of Anatolia. The Ottoman Empire was founded by a Turkic tribal leader known as Osman I, who established control over a small part of western Anatolia. Osman was a just and generous ruler, which contributed to the popularity of his state. The Ottoman state expanded further west during the reign of Sultan Mehmed, who expanded the Ottoman army and began manufacturing large cannons. His greatest achievement was the conquest of the city of Constantinople from the Byzantine Empire. Sultan Mehmed had achieved what no other Muslim ruler had achieved before him. He eliminated the Byzantine Empire and gave Muslims a new strategic location and an important link between East and West. After conquering Constantinople, which is now known as Istanbul, Sultan Mehmed expanded the city and built mosques, universities, hospitals, markets, and gardens. During his rule, the city became 3 times the size of what it was during Byzantine rule. During the reign of Sultan Mehmed, he also promoted development in science and technology, which had a massive influence over Europe. For example, the Ottoman scientist known as Ak-Shamsuddin made groundbreaking discoveries about the transmission of diseases, which led to many other discoveries in the field of medicine. Sultan Mehmed was succeeded by Sultan Bayezid II, who further developed the Ottoman Empire. In 1492, Sultan Bayezid II sent the Ottoman navy to Spain to evacuate thousands of Muslims who had been expelled by the Christian Spanish king known as Ferdinand II. He also gave refuge to thousands of Spanish Jews who were being persecuted by the Christian government. Sultan Bayezid mocked the Spanish king and stated, "He has impoverished his own country and enriched mine." During his reign, Sultan Bayezid also called for unity between the Ottomans and other Muslim states, such as the Mamluk Sultanate. He even sent Ottoman engineers to the holy city of Mecca to repair broken infrastructure for the Mamluks. During the reign of Sultan Selim I, the Ottomans became the dominant Muslim power of the world and conquered Egypt, Syria, and Hijaz. After gaining control of the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, the local people gave Sultan Selim the title Protector of the Two Holy Mosques. However, Sultan Selim refused this title and instead chose the title of Custodian of the Two Holy Mosques. This humility allowed the Ottomans to win the hearts of the Muslim world. After conquering the Arab world, Sultan Selim established a shipbuilding factory in the Gulf in order to build warships, and he eventually confronted the Portuguese navy who was harassing the people of the region. The Portuguese were finally defeated by the Ottoman Sultan known as Suleiman the Magnificent, who established full Ottoman control over the Arabian Gulf. During his reign, the empire reached its largest size in area. Sultan Suleiman controlled an empire which extended from Hungary and Serbia in Europe all the way to the Arabian Gulf. He also ruled much of Eastern and Northern Africa, and he used his naval bases in Tunisia and Libya to repel attacks from the crusading Spanish navy. During his reign, Sultan Suleiman also conquered Baghdad from the Persian Safavid Empire. After conquering Baghdad, he reduced tensions between Shias and Sunnis, which was previously being fueled by the Safavid Empire, and he also rebuilt the Abu Hanifa Mosque, which had previously been destroyed by the Safavids. Besides this, Suleiman the Magnificent also built many new mosques and buildings across the empire. For example, he established the city of Suleymania in Kurdistan, and he also built various beautiful mosques such as the Suleymania Mosque in Istanbul and the Juma Khan Mosque in Crimea. During his reign, he also built the Suleymania Library in Istanbul, which contains 80,000 manuscripts. Sultan Suleiman also promoted science and literature, and many Ottoman scholars and writers flourished during his rule, including Vankulu Mehmet Efendi, who translated the Arabic works of Imam al-Ghazali into the Ottoman language. After the death of Sultan Suleiman in 1566, the Ottoman Empire began a gradual decline, and no other sultan managed to live up to the standard of Suleiman the Magnificent. The corruption of the Ottoman sultans during this period was expressed well by the Ottoman poet known as Umar Nefi, who wrote multiple poems attacking corrupt Ottoman officials and caliphs, which resulted in his execution at the hands of Sultan Murad IV. Although no Ottoman sultan after Suleiman the Magnificent lived up to his abilities, many Ottoman governors attempted to make reforms. For example, in the early 1600s, Fakhruddin al-Ma'ani, who was the Ottoman governor of Syria, made a variety of reforms in the areas under his control. Because of the corrupt and neglectful Ottoman government of Sultan Murad IV, Fakhruddin sought the help of Italian engineers in order to build advanced infrastructure across Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine. The economy of the region flourished under the rule of Fakhruddin, who became highly popular among the Arabs of the region. During his time as the Ottoman governor of the region, Fakhruddin also established a printing press and built many mosques such as the Al-Barani Mosque in Lebanon. Eventually, the Ottoman government became anxious about the growing popularity of Fakhruddin. After perceiving Fakhruddin as a threat to Ottoman rule, the Ottoman Sultan Murad IV removed Fakhruddin from his position and executed him in the year 1635. Such government repression led to a lack of freedom of thought, scientific discoveries, and industrial development. Even when the Industrial Revolution of the 18th century began in Europe, the Ottoman economy still relied mostly on agriculture. However, despite the Ottoman government's lack of interest in science and technology, many Ottoman scholars and inventors still had the same thirst for knowledge and discovery as the early Ottoman sultans. For example, in the year 1719, the Ottoman engineer known as Ibrahim Effendi built the world's first ever submarine. However, the Ottoman government failed to recognize talent within the empire and prevented competent individuals from entering the government, which was filled with corruption. Throughout the 18th century, the Ottoman administration continued to weaken, especially in provinces outside of Anatolia. In the year 1757, a major tragedy of Ottoman history occurred when 20,000 Hajj pilgrims who were on their way to the holy city of Mecca died after being ambushed and looted by Bedouin tribes in the desert. The pilgrims were left with no supplies after their caravans were robbed, and they died of thirst in the desert. This event sent shockwaves across the empire, and the people demanded answers from the Ottoman government, who was supposed to be protecting pilgrims during the holy month of Dhul Hijjah. Due to public pressure, the Ottoman Sultan Mujtaba III admitted that various Ottoman officials were responsible for failing to provide security to the Hajj caravans, and he dismissed a number of government officials. However, the Ottoman government continued to be dominated by corrupt officials. In the year 1770, Sultan Mujtaba III dismissed the popular Ottoman governor of Palestine, known as Zahir al-Umar, and replaced him with a corrupt governor. Because of internal corruption and weak administration, the Ottoman Empire became helpless in the face of external threats. In 1798, the French Empire, led by Napoleon, invaded and occupied Ottoman Egypt. This occupation lasted for 3 years, and the Ottoman army was forced to flee from Egypt, leaving Egyptians to be brutalized and plundered by the French. The French were eventually defeated by the Ottomans with the help of the British in 1801. However, local Egyptian leaders such as Umar Makram, who resisted the French while the Ottomans abandoned Egypt, spoke out against the Ottomans and called for Egyptian independence. Anti-Ottoman sentiments in the Arab world continued, and in 1805, Muhammad Ali Pasha, who was the Ottoman governor of Egypt, separated from the Ottoman Empire and declared himself an independent ruler. In 1830, the French invaded Algeria and captured it from the Ottomans. However, hopes for Ottoman revival re-emerged when Sultan Abdul Majid became the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire in 1839. Sultan Abdul Majid was reform-minded, and he tried to save the crumbling Ottoman Empire by making a variety of reforms. Abdul Majid tried to reform the corrupt judicial system, and he issued an Ottoman constitution which stated that the government could not punish any Ottoman citizen without trial and could not confiscate private property illegally. Sultan Abdul Majid created clear budgets for each government department and extracted taxes from wealthy Ottomans and government officials who had previously managed to avoid paying taxes. Sultan Abdul Majid also called on Turks and Arabs to unite against European powers. One of the greatest achievements of Sultan Abdul Majid was reuniting Egypt with the rest of the Ottoman Empire. He sent an Ottoman delegation to Muhammad Ali Pasha, who had separated from the Ottoman Empire, and he attempted to reconcile differences between Egypt and the Ottoman Empire. Sultan Abdul Majid recognized Muhammad Ali Pasha as the governor of Egypt, and he ended years of conflict between the Ottoman Empire and Muhammad Ali Pasha. Besides uniting Egypt with the Ottoman Empire, Sultan Abdul Majid also took back territory from the Russian Empire in Romania. Abdul Majid also strengthened the Ottoman army and introduced a 4-year compulsory military service for all men. In order to keep up with Western nations, Sultan Abdul Majid also invested in education. In 1848, he established the Darul Muallimin, which was the first teacher training school of the Ottoman Empire. He also formed the School of Engineering which later became known as the Ankara University, and he founded the Maktab Ma'arif al-Adliya, which was created for the purpose of training civil servants. This environment of knowledge and inquiry encouraged others in the Ottoman Empire to establish their own schools and promote modern education. During the reign of Sultan Abdul Majid, many Ottoman intellectuals rose to prominence, such as Butrus al-Bustani, who founded the Madrasa al-Wataniya in Beirut, which was a modern school that taught subjects such as mathematics, history, geography, and translation, as well as many languages such as French, English, Latin, and Greek. In 1841, Sultan Abdul Majid established the Jaridat-e Hawadis newspaper, which was the first official state-sponsored newspaper of the Ottoman Empire. Sultan Abdul Majid also established the Imperial Ottoman Bank in order to support economic growth, and he established new infrastructure such as the Majdiya Bridge and the first railway in Anatolia, which was constructed between the cities of Izmir and Aydin. During his reign, Sultan Abdul Majid also built many mosques and buildings of cultural significance, such as the mausoleum of Maulana Khalid Sharazuri in Damascus. The reign of Abdul Majid was a glimmer of hope for the Ottoman Empire, which was being threatened by Western domination. However, the reforms of Abdul Majid were short-lived and were not continued by his successors. During the reign of Sultan Abdul Aziz, the Ottomans once again lost control of Egypt after it was occupied by the British. The Ottoman Empire continued to decline, and the final era of the Ottoman Empire was characterized by high levels of corruption and a failure to listen to the voices of reform within the empire. This despotic environment inspired Ottoman ministers and intellectuals to produce literature such as The Nature of Tyranny and the Devastating Results of Oppression, written by Abdul Rahman al-Kawakibi, and the book entitled The Surest Path to Knowledge Regarding the Condition of Countries, written by Khairuddin Pasha, who makes a comparison between European and Muslim states and proposed new laws and strategies for governance and reform. However, these efforts were not enough to save the crumbling Ottoman state from collapse. The last attempt at reforming the empire was made by Sultan Abdul Hamid II. However, he was eventually overthrown in a military coup. The Ottoman Empire came to an end shortly after the end of World War I, when the British and French armies invaded and destroyed the empire, taking advantage of internal divisions. The last Ottoman Caliph was Sultan Abdul Majid II, who passed away in exile in France, shortly after the Ottoman Empire was officially abolished by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk in 1922. Mustafa Kemal abolished the Caliphate and declared the creation of the Republic of Turkey,